Queen Victoria, the woman who gave her name to an era and to countless towns and provinces throughout the world. In this series of videos, we hope to show that far from being the humorless widow of popular imagination, she was one of the most interesting, humorous, and fascinating characters in British history. But for a quirk of fate, Victoria might never have been queen at all. Her story really begins in the reign of her grandfather, King George III. In spite of periods of intermittent madness caused by porphyria, George was a kindly and conscientious king who fathered numerous children. Unfortunately, his sons did not share his commitment to duty. Gluttonizing, gambling, womanizing, and squandering vast sums of money, between them they had fathered a brood of illegitimate children, but not one of them had produced a legitimate heir. Eventually, however, the eldest, also called George, was so hounded by his creditors and steeped in debt that he agreed to marry in return for a substantial government grant. Having no intention of remaining faithful to his wife, he didn't care whom he married. But when he was presented with his future bride, Caroline of Brunswick, he was so shocked that his immediate reaction was to call for a brandy. George was drunk throughout the wedding ceremony and spent much of the time waving to his mistresses in the gallery. Nevertheless, he and Caroline managed to produce an heir, a daughter named Charlotte. Soon after the child was born, her mother was banished from the court, and George, having done his duty, returned to his life of luxury. Charlotte, meanwhile, grew into a beautiful and popular princess, and when she married the dashing Leopold of Saxe-Coburg, the dynasty seemed secure. Within a year, however, tragedy struck. Charlotte died giving birth to a stillborn son. While the country was plunged into mourning, George's brothers saw an opportunity of settling their own debts and the possibility of fathering a future monarch. Abandoning their mistresses, they raced to find wives. Most successful in this endeavour was Edward, Duke of Kent, whose long-term mistress was packed off to a French convent, while he hurried to gain favour with Victoria of Saxe-Coburg, sister of the widowed Leopold. Within a short time they were married and settled in Belgium with Leopold, until it was discovered that Victoria was pregnant. Edward, having been told by a gypsy that he would be the father of a great British monarch, raced his wife back to England, in time for the baby, the future Queen Victoria, to be born at Kensington Palace on the 24th of May, 1819. Edward, alas, did not have long to savour the joys of fatherhood. When his daughter was 6 months old, he took her to the seaside, and there he caught a chill and died, leaving his wife a stranger in a foreign country, and the future Queen Victoria fatherless. Friendless, in debt, and with a poor command of English, the Duchess of Kent turned for support to one of her husband's former advisers, an Irishman named John Conroy. Conroy was an opportunist who saw the possibility of Victoria inheriting the throne before her 18th birthday, in which case her mother might be appointed as regent. If Conroy were able to dominate the dependent Duchess, he would be the real power behind the throne. Within a short time, Conroy had completely taken over the running of the Duchess's household, including care of the young Victoria, whom he placed under an almost tyrannical regime. She was not to mix with other children or leave the confines of the palace. Under constant supervision, she must sleep in her mother's bedroom and could not even ascend a staircase unaccompanied. Victoria's was a lonely childhood, with only her dolls and beloved dogs for company, and as time passed she grew to despise Conroy, who treated her so austerely. Then, one morning, in June 1837, just a month after her 18th birthday, she was awoken by the arrival of the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Chamberlain, and the king's physician. Kneeling, they told her that the king was dead. The reign of Victoria had begun.